Osceola, and welcome back, family. You know what it is. It's another edition of Real Talk. Now, me and Phoebe, we were just talking as we always talk, as you all know. We've got a question about immigration. What do you think about immigration?
I think immigration seems to only apply to indigenous people of a landmass. Let me elaborate on that. It seems like immigration laws here on Turtle Island apply more to the Mexicans and the Puerto Ricans than to the actual immigrants that's coming over from Europe and the Middle East.
So these laws are created against the indigenous people of this land.
It seems that way to me. And they're creating all of these borders that don't even actually exist.
That's right.
The wall in Mexico. It's a wall on the same landmass as the rest of America.
Yet over in Canada, which is on the same landmass as the United States, there isn't any border. There isn't any wall.
Well, there's a border.
A border, but there's no wall.
Right. So why did they do that to Mexico? The wall in Berlin was created in 1961, and it was torn down by 89. Why are they doing that to the indigenous people here on Turtle Island? I tell you why. Because we have always been immigrants with an E.
That's right.
Immigrants with an E is different from immigrants with an I. That E means that you're moving around on your same landmass. The I means that you've left your landmass and went to a whole nother continent overseas.
Right. You left your motherland to go to another land.
Now the immigrants with an I are not treated like I see the people who are trying to fight to cross the border over here.
That's right. The immigrants with an E.
Yeah. They're treating us like we're second and third class citizens. And we're not. We're indigenous to this land, but we've been written out of the laws. We've been written out of the history books. That's why we say it's important to be sovereign. It's easy to be sovereign. You can be sovereign by identifying with who you truly are. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's the very first step to empowering yourself. Is self-recognition for who and what you are and where you came from.
It's as simple as that. Being sovereign is self-governing. Governing yourself. If you're already written out of the laws in this state anyway, if they're making it hard on us indigenous people anyway, then we have to govern ourselves. We have to produce a way to not depend on that government.
Sure. And see that law too, those immigration laws were created to keep a lot of us from mixing, a lot of us from getting together, a lot of us from trading, as we had done for millions and millions of years.
Mingling with each other.
Mingling with each other. You know, even over in China, we know that the Great Wall of China was built in the year 220 BC. It still exists, but no longer do they have that prejudice against those Mongolians that they were fighting.
The wall in China was built in 220.
That's right.
Colonization happened in the year 200.
That's right.
We went and watched Shenyang. Colonization happened in the year 200.
And it was 20 years later that they created that wall.
For the Mongolians to stay out. But let me tell you, China didn't have nothing against the Mongolians.
No, it was the European influence.
It was the communists that was influencing the decision to build up a wall. Same thing over here. Marxism, communism, capitalism, disguised in a whole bunch of other isms. That's what it is over here. But in the play, in the Shenyang play, they didn't have anything against the Mongolians, just like we don't have anything against the Mexicans or the beautiful Puerto Ricans or the, anybody here on Turtle Island. But they've separated us mentally and physically on our own land. China still got Mongolian beef. How they got something against the Mongolians?
I mean, what they're doing is obvious that they're disenfranchising us and our families by creating these these borders
Yeah.
by creating these walls.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just referencing indigenous people overseas because they've done it to the world of
Sure.
indigenous people.
Sure.
What's the difference between indigenous and aboriginal? Somebody asked.
Okay,
Okay.
that's a good question.
Aboriginal means from the beginning.
That's right, from the very beginning.
Everyone who is indigenous or aboriginal from their land, it's like one and the same.
That's right.
You're indigenous, you're aboriginal. You've been there from the beginning. The land mass was never empty because you've been there from the beginning.
It's always been populated. We had our own civilization.
But peep this, that means there are aboriginal and indigenous people around the world.
Of course they are.
Because this is a solar planet.
That's right.
There are pigmented people of variations of complexion around the world. And they are called the indigenous people or the aboriginals of
their
that land.
Of their lands.
Now, this is where the difference comes. We are the Niijis. Niiji is a part of our language, the Algonquin language, that all indigenous people here in the Americas spoke. We spoke Algonquin. Niiji specifically means a North American Indian and all of its allies. Now, you know, North America can be down south, Mississippi. It could be East Coast, New York. It could be Midwest, Chicago. That's all in North America. And our allies can be South America, the Caribbean islands. It's all a part of Turtle Island.
That's right.
You are my Niiji. That's what indigenous, aboriginal, and Niiji means.
Just like Shawnee means Southern Indian,
Hello.
from the southern region of Turtle Island.
And you'll notice a lot of our nations mingled together
Of course.
because we were immigrants with an E.
Right.
We moved to different land masses. Some of the Indians in the Wild Wild West moved to the Midwest.
But you know,
Some of
the purpose of these borders were and are to disenfranchise us, because if you notice, the immigrants with an I coming over from Europe, coming over from Asia, coming over from the Arab world, they seem to get into the country very easy. Very easy. There are no
Yes.
borders to prevent them from coming out. Remember, the United States has always tried to bring in people and send us out.
Yes, that's
Or-
why we say the transatlantic was told in reverse.
Yeah, it didn't
because
exist.
it didn't happen the way they taught us.
Exactly.
First of all, them sailboats were not equipped to hold anybody but the crew and a little bit of
A little bit.
supplies to survive on the sea. There were no ships back then. And when the ships were invented,
And by the Japanese, by the way, guys.
Okay,
The
and-
larger ships.
they came in, they used the because a lot of them were getting shipwrecked.
Oh yeah, that's
Even
why,
today, there are
that's-
shipwrecks.
That's why they went to the Japanese, because the Japanese had better sailing ships.
Okay, so they built the sailboats for the Europeans to come over here,
The Portuguese, to be exact.
for the Portuguese to come
Right.
over here, and those boats were not as elaborate as they described.
No.
It was just enough for them to set sail and come on over. When the steamboats were created, the cargo ships, those were used to bring immigrants with an eye
That's right. New immigrants. with their
over
eye.
here, and then to send us over there. So we were not brought from Africa.
No.
We were sent to Africa. Where? Libya, Liberia. That's where we were sent. We were told that it was promising lands over there. It's like we were the colonists for a minute. They were saying you can make all this money, just spread the gospel and you'll be straight. But what we didn't know was that there was a law for expatriation.
That's right.
That means that you're banished.
That's right. Once you leave this country,
You can't
you
come
can
back.
never come back. And see, that's what a lot of people, what happened to a lot of those missionaries that pushed that gospel and went over, they weren't allowed to come back.
Like Alexander Crummell.
That's right.
That we talked about in a few episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
He died in Liberia.
That's right.
Libya, over there somewhere. He couldn't come back. WEB, if I ain't mistaken. Died somewhere over there. He couldn't come back.
That's right.
That's expatriation.
Marcus Garvey.
He ain't never make it over there.
No, he didn't make it over there, but he couldn't come back either.
But if he did, he
right.
couldn't come back.
He couldn't come back either. Once he left the country for
That's
whatever
right.
reason,
That's right.
he couldn't come back.
He couldn't come back. Okay. So, we'll keep it short. We'll keep it sweet for you. But just know that there's a reason why this government treats us a certain way. It's because you've always been here. They had to gain control over you. They didn't have control over us. And now it's this illusion of inclusion.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Don't be deceived by this illusion of inclusion.
Don't be deceived by that slave narrative, because all it is a bullshit story. It didn't happen the way they're teaching our children in schools, the way you were taught. That's why we always say everything has been told to you in reverse. The best thing that you can do is to do your research, no matter what it is. Research it first. Find out its origins, its beginnings, where it came from. Then you'll see where it's going, where it's been. It's so easy, but don't be fooled. You notice all this immigration, there are more people from other countries coming in. Instead of killing us, they couldn't kill us all. Now they're trying to dilute us by bringing as many immigrants in here as they possibly can. And especially darker pigmented, melanated Europeans. Okay? Think about it. And they too are under the illusion. They're under the illusion that this is the land of milk and honey. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are not only fleeing persecution, but they just want a better economic base. They want a chance to do. It's insane. It's insane in the membrane.
Because it's an illusion.
Because it's an illusion.
I don't see them doing nothing different from the other Europeans.
No.
To be honest with you.
No. Coming here, homesteading.
Settling.
Government funding them, for businesses and for housing. Yet the true indigenous people here, we're not even allowed to move around our own land mass.
So what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose being sovereign?
That's right.
It's so easy. First, identify with who you are. Realize that this government is not set up for you, nor by you. Mm-hmm. So you need to set your own self-governance.
And realize that you can create your own narrative.
You can
your
cultivate.
Own life. You can cultivate. Yeah. First cultivation leads to creation.
I like that.
Okay?
I like that. Plant the seeds. Cultivate them.
Plant the seeds now. Yeah. Each one teaching one, and our greatness has never been taken away from us. It's just been shone. It's time for us to wake up. It's time of awakening. It's time for us to stand up. None of us are African American. None of us are black, that social status that the government has put upon us. We are the indigenous Niiji of this land.
And remember, if you're from somewhere else and you're indigenous to that land, you better speak up.
That's right.
See, that's how we can make some movement in this motion. If we all self-identify and self-govern.
Then we can all come to the table. Then we can all share. We can love. We can have non-biased situations.
Yeah.
Because we're all on the same page.
See?
And as we like to say, we're all spiritual beings having a human experience.
Physical experience.
This 3D experience.
Auntie don't like to say human.
But we'll talk about that in another video.
You might have to grab a membership to hear what I think about humanism.
Yeah.
See, because I'm from Atlantis. I ain't no human. Because humans come from monkeys last time I checked. What you
Hey, that's why Planet of the Apes. Okay then. Take care.
We love you. Share this message, and we'll see you soon.